Darlings, it's Mummy, Sybil Bruncheon, and here's part two of my little Wednesday Tourette for you from my garden, and then now from my little dining room. This is called Cut Flowers, and I just want to show you a couple of things. First of all, these are irises out of my own garden. So to buy irises like this either would first of all cost a fortune, and secondly, it would be a failed experiment because of all flowers, irises are extremely fragile. For those of you that have them or love them or whatever, have them in your garden or have them next door or have them in a city park down the block from you or whatever, you know that they blossom and then those those fluttery, feathery little petals, look how they're quivering in the breeze. They fade instantly. For me, I love all flowers, as you know. I love the Shasta daisy. I love a rose. It's unpatriotic not to love a rose. Daisies are so simple and open and fresh and funny and silly. How can you not like them? But let's be honest. Shh, there's none of them around right now. They're a little simple, aren't they? They're kind of like the simple kid in third grade that everyone liked, but no one took very seriously. They're lovely, but they're just kind of they're a bit clowny, which is why a daisy is in a clown's lapel and squirts water. It's got that persona to it. But an iris is disturbingly complex and and shocking that such a thing could exist. Now, granted, human beings have doctored them and doctored them and doctored them, but the basic iris, the original iris that human beings began fiddling with, probably the Dutch, they certainly did every other flower. There's something wondrous about them, and I always say that they're the non-tropical parts of the world's version of an orchid. You want an iris in Hawaii? It's one of those orchids. Orchids are so complex and so mysterious and so almost pornographic. I mean, you look at their anatomy and everything, and my goodness, Georgia O'Keeffe must have been in heaven. You look at these and it's just wonderful. Irises are the North American version of that. They are what we get in exchange for not being able to have orchids in our front yards. Okay. So those of us in the northern part of the United States, this is an orchid, sort of. Okay. I know there's lady slippers and all of those variations on orchids, but this is what I think of. Now, here's what I want to tell you real quick. You saw my orchids in part one. I mean, you saw my irises in part one out in the driveway, and you saw that they can fall over. Listen to me. This is something that I discovered on my own. No one ever taught me this. Most flowers last longer in the garden than they do as cut flowers. Irises are one of the few flowers that last much longer in a vase of water with some plant food, with the little plant food packets that florists give you. By the way, when you get those, save them and just use like a quarter of the envelope at a time. Don't use the whole envelope. It's deadly. Don't use half the envelope. Use like a quarter of the envelope and put it in the water. And this is what you get. And you get days of irises. The irises last so much longer in a vase of water indoors than they do outdoors. So if you ever see an iris lying on its side, get some scissors, cut it off at the base, rush it home. You do need to rush, then recut it on the slant. Look at those slant cuts. See? Put it in nice clean water in a clean vase with a quarter of that envelope of that stuff, and this is what you'll get. And by the way, as these blossoms fade, and I don't see any fading yet. Do I see? Oh, there we go. Ha ha ha. Yeah. This one has got about another hour on it. Can you see that one at the top? You carefully cut that off, but don't cut the bud that's next to it. All right, well, I didn't do it. But in other words, when this one fades, don't cut that little bud tucked under there. Just cut off the blossom that's fading, and they will continue to rebloom and rebloom. I'm telling you, I have like a week's worth of irises in this vase, maybe two, because I can keep cutting what's outside, bringing it in, and replenishing and replacing. This is just amazing. you're talking about like a Van Gogh painting in your own house. So I can't urge you enough with this. A couple of other things. There's my back deck. There's my little lime trees out sunbathing by my orchid, by my little phalaenopsis, which is starting to rebud. I'll show you that later. But look at this. While my back was turned, one of my little cycads suddenly sent up a bunch of shoots. Look at that. Is that amazing? That cycad bloom, leafed, whatever, fronded last year and sent out 2 sad little fronds that aren't really particularly oomphy. So I thought, well, that'll be another 3 or 4 years before anything happens. I don't know what happened. This little cycad decided to send these out, and these are growing in front of our very eyes. You turn your back on these, and they're unfurling, they're taller, everything. Isn't that wonderful? So cute. This one over here is still sleeping. That one is still asleep, I hope, only sleeping. This one is chugging along as always. There's my basil. And there's the deck. And there's flowers out there, and I'll show you that another time. Anyway, look at this. My little orchids send up a new shoot. The lime and lemon trees are doing well. This cycad is a triumph. Irises for days and days and days. That purple. Yes, all colors are wonderful, but all the shades of purple are magical. Magical. No wonder she titled the book The Color Purple. Anyway, be present, be mindful, be grateful. Remember to be in the world and of the world. And remember that everything you see and smell and touch and taste and hear and hold in your hand and your heart, this color purple, it's all only borrowed. It's all only borrowed.